What is going on? We are live. This is a very special edition of Foodies and Friends because trust me, we're bringing the content today. We are
bringing the big guns.
We are days away from the kickoff of Houston Restaurant Weeks. I'm Ruben Dominguez. That's Katie Stone. Katie, introduce our guest.
You guys, here is Tad Tellefson, CEO of Tellefson. Maybe you guys don't know who he is, but we are literally in his house. He built the Houston Food Bank. This is the man who is responsible for this brand new, well, a few years old now.
Few years.
A few
I
years.
still consider it new.
It's pretty new.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
So.
it's got to be one of your favorites. Tellefson is a full-service construction company in Houston that has been around for 113 years. He is the fourth generation. He is carrying on the legacy of his family, continuing to build incredible structures of significance and impact that help the community and do good. And so we were so pleased and honored when we were joined together this year as a partner. So Tellefson is now one of our official sponsors of Houston Restaurant Weeks. Yay! Which was huge news in the city because for a lot of reasons. But the connection to building the food bank, this is the largest annual fundraiser for the food bank. It kind of all just made sense.
Made total sense.
Yeah.
Made total sense. The food bank has been on our minds for decades, and it's a special place, and a lot of Houstonians recognize that, as do we. I think it starts with leadership. The leadership at the food bank all these years is just best in class. And so that
Number one food bank in the country.
Yep.
And that gives donors, that gives supporters such great confidence in the food bank. And then there's a human aspect
Sure.
to it, right?
Sure.
Clothing, shelter, and food. Okay, those are life's basic needs, and without food, you feel less than alive. And so the great impact that our food bank has of being one of the largest in the country and most sophisticated, the impact is so huge. It's just a no-brainer to want to be associated with something that helps so many people.
Yeah.
And not only the day-to-day, but they can react to situations. I've been here when they're preparing for hurricanes.
Emergencies.
When we get hit with the flooding that Houston
They can
always
And it's going to happen
they will
again.
have pallets of hurricane kits, hurricane boxes ready to go out the door. Cleaning supplies.
Yeah.
It's
So
remarkable. And
it
it's
is
a logistics feat.
Sure.
Like UPS does and FedEx. Well, our
They
food bank
mobilize
right
the
here
troops. Yeah, and it's amazing. So Katie mentioned the building, and it's a spectacular building, and I've different times been all throughout it. From the time that you guys that Tellefson knew that this project was a go, start to finish. How much time were we talking about?
Well, it had to be designed, and then it had to be permitted, and it had to be built. So I think that was probably a couple of years. But the construction was probably around 14 months.
Wow.
Wow, that's not even that long. Oh yeah, there's a picture of the beautiful.
Oh, there it is.
I love that picture
Yeah, it's
too.
a great picture.
I love the blue and the green, and I think it's. I have to
The
tell you
lighting
that.
is just right.
Oh yeah, it was perfect. But I have to tell you, I think it's the most beautiful food bank I've ever seen in my life.
It's one of the largest, it's one of the most sophisticated, and it's the one I'm most proud of.
Now, when you say sophisticated, can you give us some? I mean, without giving any trade secrets away.
Well, I wouldn't know the trade secrets. They don't share that kind of stuff with me. But the amount of the different aspects of logistics that's housed in here, the administrative offices and the volunteer experience. For me, that volunteer experience is truly innovative. And it came from the board and Brian Green and all that leadership that I was talking about earlier.
Right.
That volunteer experience is amazing. And the thought that they put into things and the details to make it a good experience for volunteers to come here and do it. They couldn't do it without volunteers.
Because most days when you come in here, we're in, and you guys can see we're up against this wall. It's usually where they have a lot of pictures and events and stuff. But in front of us is a very large lobby, and every morning, this entire room is completely full of volunteers coming in, and the parking lot is always full, and it's all volunteers because it is such a large volunteer community.
Yep. The amount of human coordination that goes on in here every single day, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And I mean, even through, I remember coming very early on, just after the lockdown. I mean, they even found a way to make it work during COVID. because they couldn't just stop delivering food to the people that
They're so
depended on it.
innovative. So innovative here.
Yeah, and you mentioned from the top down, Brian and his team are absolutely incredible. So talk about Katie being excited when you were coming on. I mean, I get this phone call from Katie.
I know.
Yes,
Yeah,
we're having a little
this
feedback issue over there, so we got to tweak that phone. But she was like, "You'll never guess. You'll never guess. Jellison just came on board," and I'm like, "The YMCA people?"
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I mean, talk about some of the other incredible, because like I said, Tellefson might not be a something that you all are familiar with, but you really are familiar with them because they legitimately have built the Houston city skyline over the last
look at that
century.
right there on the screen.
Many of the very popular buildings that we all enjoy and talk about were built by either you or your father
family, right?
or your grandfather.
That's right.
What are some of the other buildings that we might drive by every day and not know that has your stamp on it?
The first building of Rice's campus, the Rice Chemistry Building, it's still there. It's still in use.
Wow.
The Texas Children's Hospital, the Med Center, the
The big one.
The very first one. It's still there and being used, and then we added on to that Texas Children's Hospital campus over the years. St. Luke's Hospital, the very first project that they had, first hospital in the Texas Medical Center. Lakewood Church, something that you might drive by every single day. And then currently under construction is the land bridge, the central connector at Memorial Park.
That's going to be amazing.
It is a project of a lifetime.
Yeah.
I mean, it's special. It is something special for our city. It will be enjoyed by all. A different kind of impact than a food bank, but it does have impact on communities. And again, that's
absolutely.
Yeah, a big part of what
Yeah.
we get up, why we wake up every morning and do what we do.
Yeah, totally changing the landscape of really Memorial Drive and the park too, which and improving it.
It's changing the landscape. It is a world-class move that our city is financing, and for us to have these world-class assets.
What an honor, though,
That's
right?
incredible.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
a huge honor for you guys because I spent a lot of time. Oh, we've got some pictures here. I spent a lot of time. In that park growing up, and it's a good place to walk. And my mom would always be doing radio or TV, and so I, in that area. I would take my son when he was younger in the stroller, and then when I moved back to Houston, I was like, "What's this? What is this amazing structure?"
It was always really nice to have,
Yeah.
but now it's pretty also.
Yes.
It's something to be proud of, and when someone comes to Houston to visit you, you tell them go see Memorial Park. Yeah. It's not just for jogging through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it? I think it's the second largest city park within the city limits after Central
I thought
Park.
it was the largest.
No, it's
No, it's
larger. It's larger than Central Park.
Is it
Yeah,
larger
I
than
thought
Central
it was
Park?
larger. Yeah.
It's 1,500 acres. Don't quote me.
It was a military encampment for a while.
It was.
as well.
Camp Logan.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of history. Houston history, people. It's not just food here. But let's talk about food because it is Foodies and Friends.
Yeah, sure.
So, Ted, before we switch out here with El Presidente,
Right.
with El Jefe when he descends from his throne room. And I think I can give Brian a little. Anyway, so are you a foodie?
I am a foodie. I probably shouldn't say I'm a foodie because I think you have to graduate with yourself to be a foodie. But my wife and I, Jennifer is my wife, we love food.
Yes.
And we love Houston restaurants. And we think Houston has the best restaurants
Agree.
anywhere in the world.
Totally.
No.
Totally.
We really feel that way.
No doubt.
Especially per capita and the variety. And so we love trying new restaurants as they come on the scene. And I tell you what, that Berg guy is on fire.
He knows what he's doing.
He keeps coming up with these great new concepts.
Yeah.
Benjamin Berg,
Yes.
for hospitality,
Little shout out,
board
little
member of
shout
the
for
Cleverly
Ben,
Stone
yeah.
Foundation,
Absolutely.
That guy.
Yeah.
host of the VIP Kickoff Party in Miami just a few nights ago.
It's a great party.
Huge, thank you.
So, we're at how many restaurants for this year for the HRW?
You don't even want to know.
280?
Yeah, we're at like 282. I think my mom's most was in 2019, which I believe was 288. So it's possible that we could be approaching
Back.
the record.
Yeah.
College.
Monday's the kickoff. There's still time. Restaurants
Yeah.
coming online.
Yeah, what's your any immediate
Favorites?
picks? Like I've got to go because I don't know if you realize, but like all over social media, people are already making their lists. Like I've seen so many handwritten lists of where they're going, and I'm like, how cute is this? Where are you going? And you know you're going somewhere on day one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going somewhere on day one.
I think I'm gonna butcher the name of it, but it's that Sophia.
Oh, so Trattoria Sophia, of course. Yes. Excellent
It's
choice.
a mouthful.
Yeah, it is a mouthful, but
Excellent
they're delicious. They're tasty.
Make sure you try the whipped ricotta.
It's really good.
And the
really good.
semolina and focaccia
And the bread. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
The bread, they make it all in house. They have
super
their own
good.
sesame seeds. They
It's
make
super
the
good.
ricotta. They do it all
You know-
in house.
Oh, that's a burger restaurant.
Yes.
It sure is.
It sure is.
All right.
It's
You know,
one of its
Katie-
newest ones.
You know, Katie and I we had a lot of fun because like we were doing like it just for us, not for broadcast or for social or anything. We were talking about like, okay, so what were your favorite restaurants? You know, because the ones we got to go back as civilians to a couple
Yes.
of them because instead of just running through there for 2.5 minutes
Yeah.
and then having
Hitting
to
and
run to
running,
another restaurant, throw
Which
the
is
camera
usually
into the
what we're
car.
doing, yeah.
Yeah, because we're trying to put as many on TV as
Enjoy it.
possible. Yeah,
Safer.
and you know the restaurateurs, the chefs are so gracious, and they want you to come back and they want you to eat their food. They want you to stuff like that, and it's like it's not enough hours in the day.
Yeah.
It's 4 weeks of restaurants, man.
5 weeks.
5 weeks.
August 1st through Labor Day.
That's true.
Yes.
I mean,
5
this is a great problem to have.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong.
wonderful.
Don't get me wrong.
282.
And
Congratulations.
every single day, Fox 26 puts these restaurants on television.
Either live on television or live on the street,
Even on
or
the
straight,
weekends,
straight
too.
to the
So
web.
7 days a week. So think about how amazing that is for our restaurant scene and how helpful that is.
Can you
for-
cover all 282?
So we can't get to all 282, but as you know, I'm a data queen, a spreadsheet queen. I've got lots of spreadsheets. I map all of this stuff out ahead of time. Ruben and I get together and we get, we're like, okay, we've got to get to these guys. We got
Always
to
on
them.
a call at
Got to
night.
them last year. Didn't get to them the year before. We got to get to them this year. Oh, there's a new place, and we're constantly, and we're also
If you don't get them this year, you'll get them next year.
exactly, yeah. And we're always looking for places that need help too. So locally owned, mom and pop, single owner, we enjoy supporting our community, much like you all. Talk a little bit about kind of what, being a part of such an extraordinary family legacy has meant for you, because, you and I have something a little in common, not quite as established and esteemed as yours, but the legacy and the mission of your family.
Thanks for asking. This shouldn't be about so much us. It's about the restaurants that are participating. But thanks for asking. And we're proud of our history here at Tellefson and Houston, the contribution. But it's a story really that's played out a million times over in the United States. My great grandfather was a Norwegian immigrant, wanted a better life. He lived out the American dream by immigrating here and starting a construction company, working really hard and relying on his faith in God. And he was able to create something that we, 4 generations later, have been able to continue. And our purpose for being is to build projects of significance that impact lives where people live, work, play, heal, worship, and learn. That's what motivates us. That's what gets us out of bed every day, every morning. And we like to tell our people that you're not just putting brick and mortar together. You build the building. You're building the buildings for the people. Right.
You're building community.
You're building the community.
Yeah.
You're building a facility for people who are curing cancer, bringing people to Christ, and in this case, feeding.
It's amazing.
It doesn't get any better than that for purpose for me.
Absolutely.
And
That's what
motivates me.
that's what my mom was here to do too. She took it very personally that Houston was had so many restaurants and so many incredible chefs, but yet still had such a large need for food bank food security. And you remember, I mean, if you talk to her about this out at a restaurant, she would start crying.
No.
And so that's a very strong, it leaves a mark. So
It was a commitment, and she was driven by it. And she had purpose in her life. We all want purpose in our life. And sometimes it's a choice, though, to look at your profession, what you do.
Right.
Yeah. And to see the impact.
Right.
That's a big deal, to be able to actually have an idea and put it into play and then see the people benefit. So, well, we are so grateful that you all are partners
We're lucky.
with Houston Restaurant.
Very lucky.
We are the lucky ones. I very much look forward to getting out and enjoying a few HRW dinners with you and picking your brain a little bit and learning from you I'm so grateful for the relationship and the partnership, and I wish you all the best. And we are very, very grateful for your long-time support of Houston Food Bank, of course. And so thank you so much for joining us today and for coming on board this year. And Ruben, any final questions for Mr.
Yeah, I mean, Tad was a little nervous. He was a great interview.
I don't do live TV.
You took over and ran with it. You'll have it. I predict within the year you'll have at least your own podcast.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I told you have to have a good goal to do this every day.
I can help you there. I can help you. I can send you notes. Yeah.
Okay.
Little key phrases you can use to keep the ball rolling. It'll be awesome. Well, cool. Thank you. It was a pleasure meeting you as well.
Thank you.
Looking
so
forward to
much.
seeing you again. Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
of course. Thank you.
All right. So coming up next in the lineup.
Yes.
All right, guys.
I
So
wondered, Chad, you were cutting into my hair.
I knew it.
There we go.
Yeah, the way you were talking, I was thinking, I don't remember seeing Chad with a hammer out here.
Don't trust me. Don't
Burn it.
trust me.
Burning daylight, Brian. Burning daylight.
Mr.
There he is.
Brian
Look at
Green,
What's up, buddy?
President
It's good
of
to see you. It's good
Houston
to
Food Bank. Thank you so much for joining
The
us.
president.
Very happy to
It
be
is
here.
wonderful
Has
to
joined
see you
us.
again. Thank you for joining us the other night. I think Annie as well. For
Oh,
our
that
kickoff party.
was crowded with all these restaurateurs. It's so good to see
It
them
was fun,
together.
right?
Yeah, and they're always so happy to see each other.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very grueling business that they're in, and where they're able to meet with their peers.
Yeah.
It's a good
Yeah,
time.
they don't really get the opportunity to get together
Nope.
like that in that setting, and then you add on top of it because and this is something that I don't know if you are really understanding as much too, is that how important it is for the restaurants to participate in Houston Restaurant Weeks because of the cause and what they are doing. And they become very passionate about it. And they really, because August is traditionally the slowest month for restaurants in Houston. For the restaurants that participate, though, it's actually the busiest month. But that also translates into being their toughest month because it is so busy and it's a lot of work. But because of the cause and where the funds are going, they appreciate it and they understand
And
it.
it's also kind of the peripheral companies too, people that deliver the produce, the people that went in, everything. HRW kind of helps everything head on down the line. You have been here how long now?
16 years.
16 years. Okay, so you've seen a lot happen in those 16 years.
Yeah,
And
including
most-
this building, which
Yeah.
was 11 years ago. We moved into this building.
Wow. Yeah. So we talked a little bit to Tad about that.
We tried to make it look new.
Yeah.
We've actually been here
You're
quite a
still
while.
state of the art, man.
Yeah.
This is still cutting edge stuff here. But a lot of things have happened. Everything from natural disasters we've had to suffer through as a city, and we were just talking about how I've been down here many times when you guys have pallets of hurricane kits ready to go, to deliver, and how you guys can just turn on a dime and help the community, and react. And then COVID, another challenge. Like that, does it feel like you've been through the gauntlet and are still,
revolving door of
what I mean? Does it
emergency?
feel like you've been through the wars?
Yeah, it's. I got into this or stayed in this sort of over 30 years ago in Knoxville, and I intended to just do food banking just for a little bit.
Right.
But I just loved it so much, and in part because it is just so fast paced, and there's always change, and there's always more opportunities, and we can just find new ways to get better. But I will challenge you on something you said is like that. We do something for the community. Actually, what we do is we help the community help their neighbors.
Right.
And it really is. It's because all these people come in to volunteer when we have this great need that we're able to say yes to so many more donations.
Right.
We're able to get the food out.
Right.
So, we're just trying to facilitate that. We built this facility to be that, and train our staff to think that way, and it generally works.
Yeah, Tad was mentioning some of the extraordinary advances and technological, specifications that this food bank, because at the time when it was built, it was the largest. It is the largest square footage wise.
Now the Atlanta Food Bank actually has some more square feet.
Okay.
Now we're actually in 2 facilities
Oh,
now
okay.
because we ran out of warehouse space in this one. So we've been renting space on the north side of town. But anyway, more than the space itself. First off was the dedication to the volunteers. We built this, and I think Ted might have mentioned this, to be able to handle up to 1,000 volunteers at a time.
Wow, that's incredible. At a time, 1,000 people at a time
Yeah.
here. It's like a sporting event.
Yeah, and the difference in a sporting event, they just need you to sit, stand up, and cheer.
Right.
Where like, no, you have to work together on a production line.
Sure.
Right.
So on any given day, most of the people working here, it's literally their first day on the job. So we had to design everything so you could, just little small segments, you could quickly train people in so that they could work together to do a production process. And then so much of the way the building was designed was to support that very large numbers of people could come together, we could quickly train them, have everything they need to be productive. They'd work for a few hours, they'd stop by the Texas Cafe, have something to eat. They go on
coffee,
their day.
just keep going. Yeah. And it's Katie was mentioning how most of the time you come through here and it's an ocean of people,
Packed.
just ready
packed.
to pitch in and do what they want. Let's talk about obviously the money that's going to come from each time that the viewers dine out. Turns. I mean, you can from basically $1-2 turns into how many meals?
Well, $1 still does 3 meals for us.
Wow.
And that's not because we're just like the greatest buyers. You can't buy food that cheap.
Right.
But there is so much surplus food in the United States, even today, even with all the shortage you're talking about,
Right.
that we can get that food very inexpensively as a donation. In many cases, we'll pay the farmer just to pick and bag it for us or pick and box it for us, but they're donating the produce and we're getting it for pennies on the dollar. And that's what gives us the leverage, even with all the other costs
Right.
to still translate $1 into 3 meals.
That's incredible.
So one of the cool things that we have set up for you guys is we do have our foodie cam. I turned it off for a few minutes just because there was some feedback. But one of the things that we set up is what a traditional dinner for two. So if you were, and a lot of people don't know this, Brian, they're even with Houston Restaurant Weeks being all over the city for an entire month, there are still a lot of diners that don't understand that there's a charitable element associated with the event, which is kind of mind-boggling in and of itself. But what you're looking at on the foodie cam, this is what you are providing when, let's say, Ruben and I go out to dinner and we, $55 menu on that set. This screen, that's what you're actually providing to a family. So that's 36 meals worth of food, Brian.
Oh,
and
you had the math and everything.
We did a couple of little additions.
She's good at that.
And I just think that this is so cool
Yeah.
that, to understand that simply, in my mother's words, dine out and do good.
Right.
You truly are dining out and doing good. We're enjoying having a great meal, enjoying Houston's incredible restaurant scene, and then we're also feeding potentially 36 people.
And it's not just canned goods, and some pasta in a box. You guys have produce. You have some proteins. Thank you. Take over.
So actually, 40% of our output is fresh produce now. And then we get meat now. We pick up from the supermarkets every day. They freeze the meat on the sell-by date and pick it up. And so produce, perishable, actually fresh goods actually account for well over half of our distribution.
Wow.
That's
And I
incredible.
think it makes sense actually because the reality is most people don't buy canned vegetables anymore. So that's not most of what we're able to get.
Right.
But we are able to get what people eat. And so if this is surplus, we're going to go pursue it. We're going to work to try and get it to families.
That's fantastic.
And what does that process look like? So let's say there's a family in need. What would their process? Because it's not always something that a family in need may not have Wi-Fi accessible. They may not have. It's also might be a little embarrassing to admit that you have a need. So what is kind of the process for families out there who might be in need and need some little extra help?
Sure. Now, if you're watching this, and hopefully you've already clicked on the Houston Restaurant Week's website, HoustonFoodBank.org website is linked right there on the Houston Restaurant Week's website. So you find a tab that says need help, and then you just go to the pantry, find a pantry, and you type in your zip code, and that'll show you the pantries in that zip code, their hours of operation, their location, their contact information. All you have to do is declare, look, I need some help. They're going to help you. And we're going to try and channel
No
them to
questions
food.
asked.
Yeah, the idea, we learned this years ago. People would wonder, well, are people going to use this as a food? Look, Are you abusing the system? No.
Yeah.
People don't do that.
Yeah.
And if there's like 1% that do, you know what? I'm not going to penalize
Okay.
99%.
Yeah,
because of 1%.
exactly. Yeah.
So no, if you're going to that pantry and you're saying, look, I need help, they're gonna help.
And you're still feeding people at the end of the day too. So for the 1% that might be, taking advantage, it's still kind of fine, right? Because you're still feeding.
What's up? How are you?
Hi,
Good to
how
see
are
you.
you?
Good to see you.
Yeah.
So, for folks that maybe don't know, and we're here obviously at headquarters, when the trucks roll out, and how many pantries around the area are we talking that you guys physically are delivering to?
Well, it's been one of the big changes over the years. Is we now serve 1,700 different partnerships. Yes, it's really grown quite
The
large.
logistics of that is mind-boggling.
Well, we run close to 70 trucks a day because all of it we deliver to the partners. We just learned years ago that we're relying on somebody picking it up in their Volvo. They're not going to be able to do the kind of volume thing.
Right,
So
food's
it's
not going to get there. Yeah.
If we run the trucks, and so every day it's a significant distribution challenge. Our drivers are here 5 in the morning. These are their routes every day as much as possible. We're trying to deliver out a full load, and then the donations we pick up, bring back.
How important has the community in Houston, the restaurants, the businesses, how important has that been for you all to continue operating in the way that you have?
Well, obviously, extremely important, but the first component of it is the more that these businesses are thriving and keeping their people employed with good wages, the less you need us. And that is the biggest win of all. And that's the win of Houston Restaurant Week.
Sure.
What was the hardest time for those restaurant owners?
In August.
It was August. Their hours are cut. They're not making enough money. And it's like, now they're showing up in my line.
Yeah.
So that's step one.
Yeah.
And then just the financial resources that this gets us as our largest fundraiser, benefiting Houston Food Bank every year. That translates into a huge amount of meals.
Millions of meals. Yeah.
These families that are helping.
And I've been with my mom out during Houston Restaurant Weeks in past August, where, to your point, servers or valet or bartenders would come up to her in tears and say, Miss Cleverly, prior to Houston Restaurant Weeks existing, I would be traditionally laid off during the month of August, which is also when your kids are going back to school. So they wouldn't be able to buy their kids a new backpack or new shoes or new clothes. I'll start crying if I think about it, but it truly is, when you think about the trickle-down impact of Houston Restaurant Weeks and the Houston Food Bank, you're not only feeding people, but it's also employing people too during what would be a very slow period of the year.
Yeah, it's a great win, and as Ruben mentioned, I mean, it has secondary benefits because there's the businesses that are able to keep their money at that time, rather than what is normally a huge slowdown time for the entire restaurant industry.
Yeah, for sure.
So we talked about the building and how it was really designed to be able to handle this amount of volunteers and get the work done to do that. You have to ballpark it on a year. How many volunteers come?
Good question.
Well, we don't ballpark that. We actually count.
I was trying to go easy on you. I didn't want to put you in a bad spot.
That's all right. So the year we just finished, June 30th fiscal year, was just under 60,000 dedicated volunteers.
Wow.
Well, that's actually below where we were pre-pandemic.
Okay. All right.
The pandemic was awful for volunteers.
Oh gosh, I know it.
So we've been recovering. We've about 75% of where we were. We're trying to get to beyond where we were.
Right.
But we're getting
moving in the right direction.
By the way, just point that out. It's like, so years ago, we set a goal to have more volunteers than the rodeo.
Okay.
And at the time, we had 7,000 volunteers, and they had 22,000 volunteers.
Right.
Yeah.
And it sounded like
It's a
crazy
steep climb.
Like, how could you ever have more volunteers?
Sure.
Yeah.
And so, we worked hard to do this,
Yeah.
and the community has responded. And it's like, we come in, we'll put you to work. The average, you go in that room right next to us, the carousel room, where we sort the salvage. The average output per volunteer is $75 worth of food per hour. Now, that's not just like because of everybody else or something. That's your output. That's how much food one person can accomplish per hour on average.
That's incredible that you are able, that you have it, so that you can understand.
Spreadsheets.
Yeah, spreadsheets, man, data. Yeah, I need to learn a few tricks from this guy about the spreadsheets. When are we going to HRW dinner, huh? I need to.
Well,
I need to
if you
learn.
actually want to learn data, it's the data analyst. It's the DM
Yeah,
now.
There
Like,
you go.
Yes.
back in the old days when it was Brian with an Excel spreadsheet, sure, it's fine.
Right.
But we are so far past that now.
Yes. Advancements have been made.
What's your need looking like right now for people who are curious about ways they can donate and participate and give back? What's your need level at? Because I know around COVID it rose dramatically.
Yeah, COVID was a real challenge because normally our best gas is always volunteers. Because it's the volunteers that enable us to say yes to donations we otherwise couldn't do. Whereas in COVID, we couldn't even say yes to enough volunteers.
Sure.
It wasn't just a matter of people not being willing to volunteer for safety reasons. We couldn't put people in the building.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we went from we could take 1,000 all the way down to 100 volunteers per shift just to try and keep everybody distance so they can safe.
Sure.
And then as we progressed, we were able to add more, but we haven't recuperated. So I would say right now, number one absolutely is volunteers. Your hours are probably worth more in output to the community right now than you can probably donate.
$10. So they need volunteers.
They need volunteers. How do they do it? Do they? They obviously
It's
just
that
don't
same
just walk
website,
in, right?
Which is that website is accessible if you go to Houston Food Banks, Houston Restaurant Week.
Yep.
.org.
Yeah.
And you click on the Houston Food Bank link. That will also take
all the
you to tab
information's
where you
there.
can volunteer.
Boom.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
We do ask that you do register in advance,
Of course.
because again, this is a production facility.
Yep.
And we have to coordinate people.
We
knowing how many
We should come out here one day, Ruben, and we should do some volunteering and show everybody what it's
I'm
like.
ready when
Are
you
you
are.
ready?
I'm
I
ready
see
when you
Tad. He's ready.
Tad's ready.
Tad's ready. All right,
The
baby.
gang's all here.
We're gonna book it.
Chad's going to bring his hammer.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're gonna do it. It's
In
gonna
case
be
we
great.
gotta add a room,
Yeah.
knock out a wall.
And I wanted to give you guys also a shout out. We work with Houston Restaurant Weeks has always and will always benefit the Houston Food Bank, but we work with a lot of people behind the scenes too. So Heather and Desiree and Amy and Brian, these are all people who help make Houston Restaurant Weeks possible. It is absolutely a team and a community effort. And so I thank you so much, especially in these last 2 years that have been extremely challenging, not just for you guys, but also for me too. It's a very big transition. But you guys have been awesome and I've learned so much. And I feel like we've grown a lot and I feel like we're growing together and I look forward to the continued growth. And, I'm a numbers person. I like numbers. I like building. I like winning. I am absolutely dead set on continuing to make that number every August rise for you guys, and I can't wait to see what we make happen in the coming years. So that is my number one commitment as the president of the Covington Foundation.
There you go. Yeah. All right. So before we let everybody go, just want to remind everyone that Monday, Houston Restaurant Weeks kicks off. Katie and I will be live on Fox 26. We've got 2 incredible restaurants to kick off the festivities with you. There'll be live streams in the afternoons, so you are going to get a lot of
lots of good food
coverage.
content.
Get out there, let's do some eating, and there's going to be gift card giveaways.
Yes.
Come on.
Daily gift card giveaways. Quickly, Brian, what's your first go-to HRW spot? Let's go.
Now
baby.
you're on the spot. Pick a restaurant.
And you got
pick a restaurant, Brian.
Hugo's.
Hugo's. Boom.
Okay.
Ding, 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 ding.
Okay.
Chef Hugo will be very happy to hear that. All right, guys, we're going to let you go. We will see you Monday morning.
We'll see you
Fox
Friday.
26.
We'll see you Friday,
right.
actually, at Tony's with Chef Kate McLean, who has an incredibly tasty HRW menu this
Katie
year.
will see you on Friday.
And it's my birthday.
And it's her birthday. I'll be on a plane. Foodies, we
Thanks,
love
guys.
you. Get out, dine out, do good. HRW 2022 coming your way. We'll see you later. Thank you, studio audience.
Woo!